Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's wonderful to welcome everybody here. I know we have a number of guests in from out of town, especially for the bat mitzvah. If you're a guest, we want to invite you to out yourself so that we can welcome you specifically. So if you got the guts, raise your hand. Look at that. Look at how excited and enthusiastic they are because they're from Chicago. That's what. Go ahead. Seattle, wonderful. Welcome. Give us your names.
I'm Linda.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Any other guests as bold as Chicagoans or what do they say? Seattleans? What do you Seattle? I don't know how you say that. Yeah. Wonderful. All right. So welcome everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Unfortunately, as is the case, unfortunately, with far too many people this week. A number of our leaders are under the weather, so they stuck the hard stuff with me. So I'll share some announcements about what's coming up before we begin our service. First, we want to thank Mallory and Travis for sponsoring the Wine and Welcome this evening in honor of Saffron's bat mitzvah. As we celebrate Saffron maturing and becoming a Jewish adult, we invite everybody to join us tomorrow morning at 10:30. I will say particularly, Saffron has a wonderful speech, Devar Torah, that she's giving, and so you'll be missing out if you don't join us. We also have coming up, we're almost in Elul. We're almost in the month preceding the Hebrew month preceding the holidays, which means it's time to scratch that itch that gets us ready for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We're going to start by studying a book called The Amen Effect. I'll be talking about it a little bit tonight. It's by Rabbi Sharon Brous. So you do not have to read the book in order to take part in the class, which will be Wednesdays in September, both virtual and in person, noon to 1 over the lunch hour. But it is a wonderful, I think, entry point, especially in a challenging year. It's a great entry point into how we enter into this new year with some hope. So if you want to get the book, it's called The Amen Effect, and we'll be talking about it in September. In a couple weeks, 2 weeks, I think, if I'm getting my dates right, September 6th, is that 2 weeks from now? That sounds right. We're excited for Social Action Shabbat. Representative Casey Weinstein from the Ohio State House is joining us. He is one of the very few Jewish members of the Ohio State House. I believe there are 2, although there's some optimism that we're going to have as many as 5 or 6 after the election, possibly. And Casey Weinstein currently represents Hudson, although he's currently running for a broader seat as a senator. He's going to be speaking on the death penalty, which is an issue that's come up a lot in the Ohio State House. There's been a bill put forward to abolish the death penalty, and he's going to share with us his perspective, both as a Jewish person and as a member of our State House, and where he sees that going. And that'll be our Social Action Shabbat, September 6th. And finally, Michael Levin, our member, but in this case, more importantly, history professor at University of Akron, is starting September 18th. He'll be starting a class on the history, the historical roots of anti-Semitism. So it's a class he actually teaches at University of Akron. He's giving us 3 sessions, so come get a taste of college again. It'll start Wednesday night, September, get the date right, 18th, and then it'll be on 2 more Sundays following that. It's all in the weekly email. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for listening to all the announcements. We'll start by inviting the Schwab Seaman family up to light our candles and hold our Kiddush cup as we sanctify this Shabbat and join in the joy of their family as we will turn towards Saffron this weekend to help lead us a little bit tonight and a lot tomorrow. Nope, there should be a little thing to light the candle, that little. Yep.
Boundless are you, Adonai, sovereign of all time and space, who brings holiness to our lives with the mitzvah to kindle the light of Shabbat. We all made it.
You can say it then.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher
Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. If you'll lift up the Kiddush cup now, let's join together in
Baruch
Kiddush.
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shavak pocho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron la'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila la'mikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu acharta Ve'otanu kidashta Mikohanim V'shabbat kodshecha Ve'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Hi, you guys can drink if you want. You guys can go back to your seats. We'll begin on page 13 as we turn to the words of Shirul Adonai, our words to welcome Shabbat. We follow these words from Psalm 96, words that remind us that it's in this moment, as we shift from our week into our Shabbat, that we sing a different song. We take away the stresses, the pains, the goodbyes of the week, and we say hello to a sense of peace, a sense of joy, a sense of being together in community in a new and different way. So we welcome Shabbat, page 13.
Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shirul Adonai kol haaretz. Shirul Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
We turn to page 20 as we welcome Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi. We welcome Shabbat not only with words and in song, but so too as we reach the 9th verse of this prayer. We'll welcome Shabbat physically as we'll turn towards the entrance to our sanctuary. For those joining us at home, we invite you to turn toward the entrance of your home. Page 20 and 21.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור, בדיבור אחד השמיענו, אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, שמו תפארת לתחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה מראש, מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך, קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please rise as we face our entrance.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גמה בשמחה, ובסוחלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing, page 26.
יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח ירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ועולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו, לעילם ינקום ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו
Amen. Page 29. There's one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. But then there is one who leaves the circle of herself, sings the song of her people. There's another whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there's one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. We take that responsibility on ourselves as we enter into our most serious prayers. As we begin this Shabbat more formally with our call to worship, may our voices rise to the highest level we know, that of humanity. Page 28, Baruch Hu.
La 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
everyone. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain, on this the border of light. We ask, shall we draw back or cross over? Where will our hearts turn? Will we draw back, brothers, sisters, or cross over together? This is the hour of change. And so we are here, standing quietly on this border of light. What lies before us? And will we draw back, or will we cross over?
Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravi.
Page 33, as you taught Torah to those whose names I bear. God, teach me Torah too. As its mystery beckons and I struggle with its truth, I ask, you meant Torah for me, did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know, and lead me into the mystery.
Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. It's our honor to invite Saffron Rose up to lead us in the Via Hafta, our prayer that calls upon the love of parents to children, of teaching those of the next generation, as she moves from being a student to a teacher this Shabbat. Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובפתחתך בדרך ושובך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Well done. Good job. Ingles. Page 39, before we share the words of Michamocha, we remind ourselves, especially on Shabbatot, when we invite our children as young adults to lead us, we're reminded of our shared humanity and our role in being a part of a village that helps families and in which they help us to grow and become the truest sense of ourselves, that we do that even as we look out into the unknown future, most importantly by doing it together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we continue to believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, there is always an Egypt, and that there is always a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through a wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Micha Mocha, page 40, our prayer and song for freedom.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
Page 44. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, for it is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. 6 days God made heaven and earth, but on this day, on the seventh day, God ceased, and we are told to do the same thing, not only to take a break from the work of our life, but also to make sure that, as is true in the book of Genesis, that we declare what happens in these next 24 hours to be good. Vishamru, may we protect what is good in our life. May we make it a blessing.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת לעשות, את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם בני ובי בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינבא.
We invite you to pray as if everything depended on God, and to act as if everything depends upon us. May those two great aspirational prayers and actions come together. As we share in the words of our Amidah, please rise, page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, Eloyod, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'gonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi Geula lifnei v'neihem, Lama'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחוקל חיים בחסד, הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, לחיי הכל.
אתה הקדוש ושמך הקדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. Depending on how you spent some of your downtime this week, you may have heard a lot about joy. We're not going to ask for people to raise hands, but both in our prayers, in our Torah, and long back at the beginning of our tradition, this has been a theme. And so it is nothing new for us. We'll be speaking about it a little bit tonight. We take Shabbat. One of our great commandments on Shabbat is Yismechu Hashemayim. May we make joy under the heavens true for us right now on this day. One of the ways we do that is by acknowledging what is good in our life, lifting that up to be before our eyes and ears in our community. We always end our services on purpose that way, so that we allow people to share their blessings publicly. We'll do that tonight too. But we also do it in prayers themselves. And so we ask you to think of all of that which is good in your life. Those things that too often get covered up by what is scary or challenging or overwhelming or urgent, to let the goodness be in front of us so that we can call it a blessing for ourselves. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, for the awareness of our souls, for the world around us, for the richness of the earth. For all of these and more, we make sure to offer our thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. Amen. Perhaps one of the greatest challenges to noticing what is good in your life is when what is bad in your life, what is scaring you, is overwhelming and evident right before you, as we know is true for those who are in the midst of war. We offer for them first a prayer that they find peace so that they can see the goodness that they have before them. Page 60, Shalom Rav. May the most overwhelming sense of peace find its way to every corner of our world.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Melech Adon L'chol Hashalom. Ki Ata Melech Adon L'chol Hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et ub'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav tasim leolam, tasim leolam, tasim leolam.
We take a few moments to write our own prayers for our own silent meditation.
Adonai tzuri v'goali. Oh, say shalom b'mromah, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי.
Shabbat Shalom. So I mentioned that we'll be reading this book called The Amen Effect, and it's sitting in my office. I meant to bring it here because I wanted to show you. It's a very little book. Don't be intimidated by picking up a new book. And it's rich in stories and rich in meaning. It's written by Rabbi Sharon Brous, who's the senior rabbi of a very creative, innovative synagogue in LA called Ikar. I believe Brian was a member of Ikar. I used to visit Ikar when I was a rabbinical student. Anybody else go to Ikar? Anybody? It's a popular synagogue. Nobody else? Yeah. Okay. Lauren. It's as Rabbi Brous likes to say, it's not your grandparents' synagogue. It's filled with hipsters and people in the middle of LA and people who are comfortable singing and dancing in the middle of services, a little unreserved. I don't know what word you might use for it. Great. So one night at services, actually probably one morning at services because they get more of a crowd on Shabbat morning, Rabbi Brous, one of the leaders of the synagogue comes up to Rabbi Brous on the bima and whispers to her that somebody, this will explain exactly how more loose things are in a way. In the middle of services, somebody proposed to their girlfriend. And so somebody snuck up to the bima to say, Rabbi, you need to know that this couple over here, they just got engaged. You might want to announce that from the bima. Rabbi Brous writes about this in the book. It's, of course, an amazing thing. And what a blessing on a congregation that a young couple would pick, of all places, the synagogue to be the place where they got engaged. But sometimes rabbis, as is true in other professions also, rabbis have an added burden, which is we know too much. And so, as Rabbi Brous writes, she was figuring out when in the service to announce that this couple got engaged, knowing that everybody would cheer and shout Mazel Tov and break into dancing around them, and realized that standing in the back of the congregation was a man named David, who she knew well, who had been a regular at Shabbat services for years, but who had stopped coming recently because he was going through a divorce and his mother was dying. And so she thinks, do I announce, while David is back at Shul for the first time in months, that this couple is having this wonderful moment, and let the room celebrate a new relationship when he's in the midst of ending one and losing one? And so in the midst of prayers, she says she remembers what her grandmother always told her, which was, if you're going to go to the funeral, then you better go to the wedding. So she decided to announce that the couple got engaged, and as she expected, the congregation broke out, singing Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, and started dancing around the couple. Meanwhile, she was looking for David, wondering if he ran out the back door, wondering if this was goodbye for him, because he had the guts to show up once after a long hiatus and found that it only made him more upset. She couldn't see him. Moments later, as someone was bringing a tallis to hold over the couple to continue the dancing, she realized that he was one of the ones holding the corner. She pulled him aside afterwards and said, I wasn't sure that that was going to be okay with you. And he said, I couldn't help but be moved and touched in the deepest part of who I am by the love they had for each other, so how could I not join in? We often wonder whether in the darker moments, the more painful moments, especially for our friends or our loved ones, if we are able to celebrate. And often we'll choose not to say anything. We'll choose not to bring them into our celebrations, not to be too happy in front of them because maybe it'll make them more upset, more sad. Perhaps something that we're celebrating will just remind them of a loss, but our tradition says to do otherwise. In this week's Torah portion, there is a word that's used a number of times. I thought about doing a whole Hebrew lesson because it's really interesting in Hebrew, and then the better part of me said that you really are not going to be that interested in the Hebrew. It's really just me. So I just want to mention that I skipped that part. The word is v'haya. It comes up 3 times in the Torah portion. The rabbis say, it means it came to pass. It's one of these words that you can sort of very much, when you're reading Torah, you skip over it because it doesn't seem to hold a lot of meaning. For those who've read Torah, as Saffron will do tomorrow, if you've ever studied Torah, you know another one of these words is vayomer. It comes up hundreds of times in the Torah. It just means, and so said, right? Jonah's smiling because he has vayomer in his Torah portion a bunch of times too, right? So we see these words, and to us they're just transitional words. But the rabbis said, no, this word was different. Why? Because Moses, and we're in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses is essentially giving a extended goodbye to the people. He knows he's not going into the promised land, and he's telling them how to be when he's no longer there. And they say every time he says the word v'haya, meaning, and then this will happen, or sometimes translated, it came to pass, he's sort of speaking in this weird future tense. They say what that really means is, and what will happen in that moment is you'll be filled with joy. And there are all sorts of commandments, things that you would not think are joyous. He's saying, when you make this sacrifice, when you do what God says, you will have joy. And the rabbis say that if we can say our goodbyes, if we can depart, if we can face tragedy and loss, things that scare us, frighten us, make us shrink a little bit and want to not talk, if we can face them in some form of joy, the result is it makes the next step of the journey not filled with joy, but filled with peace. So whether it's a relationship that's ending, a job that's ending, a final goodbye for someone who's passing away, some sense of simcha, as Rabbi Brause's grandmother said, when some sense of simcha, of joy, is present, I would say we actually don't depart at all. The ending doesn't fully happen. What happens is a new beginning starts before the end can fully be closed. we begin a new journey, and that journey gets to have some sense of peace. So let me share a warning of a sad story, but has somewhat of a happy ending. It's a story I just heard this past week as a friend shared a teaching that came from one of our teachers in Israel, an Israeli, Tamar Elad Applebaum. I've heard this story a number of times with different names. It's a very common story in Israel today, and it's the type of story you hear during war. She talks about a soldier named Ben Zusman. Ben was a friend of her children when they were growing up, and his mother was their elementary school teacher. And so she knew the family well enough. And Ben, of course, was serving in the IDF, and he was killed in the battle in Gaza. But as is true for many Israeli soldiers, and I assume many soldiers around the world, they often write what some would call a will or a last letter, and they put it in their pocket of their uniform in case the worst happens, so that when their family is notified, there's something to give their family. And so he had such a letter. And it was given to his family, and in the letter, it was very clear. He said, if you're getting this letter, what I want you to know is you have to live life. That what I want more than anything is for you to continue on. So Tamar Applebaum is sharing this story. She said she didn't come to know that until it was the period of Shloshim for Ben Zusman, as many of you have heard, is happening in Israel. The period of Shloshim is the 30th day of mourning, and people are coming in hundreds, if not thousands, to these gatherings for these young people who've been killed. And so she showed up because, of course, she knew the family. She shows up into this room filled with hundreds and hundreds of people, and the first thing she saw was tons of beer, because Ben loved beer. And at some point, she said his father got up, and he read this letter, and he said, what I want to say is, raise a glass, l'chaim, to life. We have to live life. And then people started speaking. People took the floor, Jewish Israelis, Arab Israelis, people from the neighborhood, people who grew up with Ben, people who had only known him for perhaps a brief moment or just knew somebody who knew him and showed up randomly, and they talked for I don't know how long, but I presume a while, not about loss, but about hope. And they said, this is why we talk about tikva, because they were speaking Hebrew, in our national anthem, because we raise a glass and turn towards l'chaim even when it's hard. And I believe that what Ben wrote in that letter, before he ever thought it would be read, sent this whole community on a new journey, looking forward, even in their darkness, to turn towards life and hope and joy. And he started something new for them. And so, the way we face our departures can also be the way that we begin our next journey. A man departs a marriage and then dances with a couple. A soldier dies in battle while telling his family to live life to its fullest. Moses says goodbye to the people by reminding them, V'haya, it will come to pass, whatever is next, with a sense of joy. And I couldn't help but thinking, this Shabbat, we have a number of people remembering loved ones. The Ehrenberg family remembering Mitch as it's his first yard site, but I also happen to know they also celebrated Anna's birthday and sent her off to college, choosing Simcha in the face of that first year of loss. And as you'll hear better from Saffron tomorrow, but Saffron has been very clear throughout all of her studies of this bat mitzvah that even though not too long ago she lost her father, Anthony Leonza, that she gets great joy knowing how much he would enjoy this weekend and knowing how much joy he brought to her and the world. These are all old Jewish and not Jewish concepts that when we are faced with some sort of a goodbye, which is inevitable, that we are also faced with an opportunity to offer peace by offering a sense of l'chaim, of turning towards life. I want to thank Saffron for tomorrow, for letting us, in times where it is too easy to get bogged down with bad things happening in the world, we are so excited to be lifted up by our young people. Show everybody how you're smiling. This is a Jewish smile, not only because of the face it's on, but also because this is what we find a way to do. This is who we are. This is tikva. This is hope. This is v'haya. This is, and it will come to pass, that we will smile, that we will live, that we will find peace, that we will move forward, and we will do that for sure this Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. We'll turn now to our Torah as we'll read some of those very words, and you'll hear that word v'haya. So listen for it, because usually we just skip to the next ones in our ears, but hopefully it holds extra meaning for us on this Shabbat. Please rise. We'll turn to page 250 as we'll turn towards our ark and bring the Torah out into the congregation.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, v'kedushato, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadalu Adonai iti, Uneromema, Shemo Yakta, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, Hagevora, Hatiperet, Hanetza, Nahor, Ki Chol Bashamayim Uvaretz, Ki Chol Bashamayim Uvaretz, Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha, V'hamit Na'aseh L'chol Rosh. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Omer. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Omri.
Please be seated. It's an honor to invite the Zimmermans up to share the blessing of the Torah, Terry and Julie. The blessing is found on page 250.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMbarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'notan lanu es Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. V'haya ekev tishme'un et hamishpatim ha'ele ushmartam v'asitem otam v'shamar Adonai Elohecha lecha et habritit ve'et hachesed asher nishbat la'avotecha
v'havecha uveruchacha v'hashivrecha v'rach peri bitecha ufri admatecha deganacha v'toroshecha v'tzocherecha sha'ar alafecha v'rosh totzonecha al ha'adama asher nishba la'avotecha latet lach Baruch tiyeh michal ha'amim lo yiyeh v'cha akar v'akara uvivhemtecha v'hisir Adonai mimecha kol choli v'chol madvei Mitzrayim harim asher yadata lo yisamim v'cha v'nantam v'chol sonecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nosan lanu Toras emes v'chayei olam nata b'suchenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Before we share the words of Misha Barak, I'll just share a part of the translation. V'haya ekev, and if you obey these rules and observe them faithfully, we would add with joy, then God will maintain you for the gracious covenant that God made with your parents. God will love you and bless you, multiply you. You shall be blessed above all on earth, and you will be warded off from sickness. God will not bring upon you any of the challenges that you've had before, and you will find a sense of joy. We turn now to offer that strength to those who we know are in need of healing at this time. We turn to page 253 as we share the words of Misha Barak. We invite you to insert the names of loved ones out loud or to yourself as we wish for them a full sense of becoming who they are.
Misha Barak Avoteinu B'chol habracha V'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
If there are names you'd like to share, please share them as I look around the room.
Schaefer.
Eileen Schoenfeld.
Misha Barak Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Please rise as we return the Torah to the Ark.
V'zot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael. Ani Adonai miyad Moshe. Yalelai lai lai, yalelai lai lai, lai 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 lai, yalelai lai lai, yalelai lai lai, lai 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 lai, yalelai lai lai, yalelai lai lai, 256. Et chaim hi lamachazikima v'tom lecha me'ushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Nashua Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedim. Page 282. Aleinu l'shaveach lazon hakol latekedu laviotzer reshit shelo asanu kegoye haratot v'lo samanu kamishpechot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kaham v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim ומשתחמים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those that we've lost. We remind ourselves with this prayer on page 288 of exactly what our Torah portion asks of us. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. When you need me, put your arms around anyone. Give them what you need to give me. Because I leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. If you can't give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. For you can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free, reminding yourself that love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. This week, we continue to offer our condolences for those who've lost a loved one in this past month. The families of Helen Bertahan, of Albert Kay, and of Sina Glass. And we remember those that we lost at this time in years past. Michael Adler, Daniel Axon, Dolores Dolly Droz, Arnold Ehrenberg, Mitchell Ehrenberg, Sylvia Fetterman, Cy Feinsilber, Sidney Felder, Harry First, Reba Hollab, Samuel Cates, Albert Klossner, Dr. Alan Krivis, Barbara Lushtag, Gerald Meltzer, Benjamin Morstein, Sidney Newman, Dora Rabb, Israel Sass, Ruth Schaefer, Ruth Schwab, Betty Jane Schechter, Lawrence Siff, Sheila Silver, Sarah Bass Sweedler, and Sam Wolfand. If there are names I mispronounced or names you'd like to add, please share them. Page 294. We honor our loved ones. Please rise as we share in the words of mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha, barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Having honored those that we loved and lost, we invite you, if you would like, to connect with those around you as we honor and bless each other with the words of the priests.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine through you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May you feel God's presence within you always. May you embrace joy, and may that joy bring you peace.
Amen.
Please be seated as we'll take a moment to conclude our services with blessings from our week or our month or from whenever we saw each other last. If there are things going on in your life that you'd like to share, please raise your hand and share. Or just pass a baby around. Either one works. Mike?
Terry survived 50 years of me.
Wonderful. That's 50 years of marriage. Yeah, Dina?
Last week we celebrated 29.
29 years of marriage. Good blessing. Any one more? You like to go in threes?
The Shear family, Norm and Nancy.
15 years. Look at that. Look at that. Lean forward a little bit, and you'll be right next to 50. It's like you can hop forward. Or the Shear family, did you have one? No? No?
Yeah, they did.
56 years. Lots of anniversaries. For all the blessings, we are so honored to share them as a congregation. We bless them with the words of Shekianu that we are thrilled to be able to be together in these good moments.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Invite Saffron and her siblings to hold the challah. Sibling at the moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. You guys can walk around and offer it to people.
And
Shabbat
thank you to
shalom.
Mickey for beautifying our service this evening. Let us all join in Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom b'broma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Shalom b'broma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
See you tomorrow morning.